Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? Duh!
Hello, and welcome back to part 2 of the Mojo Barbarus shipping arc, one of the very few times that separate episodes in the reboot are directly connected to one another. Be sure to check out the review of Monkey Love for context leading into this episode if you haven't seen it already. But otherwise, let's continue.
Of the Fashionistas and Mojo Jojo, Super Simeon Ape of the Volcano Lair just outside of town are to be wed this Saturday. BYOB. Bring your own bananas?
So where do we begin this time? Well, it seems we've got a wedding invitation to start this thing off. Although I must say, this isn't a very good wedding invitation if I've ever seen one. And I have. For the sake of brevity, I've listed my graphic design criticisms on screen for you all, so we don't have to sit here forever as I rattle them off one by one. Maybe some of them could be considered nitpicks, but it's hard to deny that most of the properties of this invitation are very poorly designed. Immediately, without even thinking, Buttercup automatically assumes that these two are up to something, and I'm inclined to agree considering they're magically out of prison from the ending of the last episode. Maybe they were proven not guilty in court, I don't know, but the point is that villains get released from prison all the time in Townsville, so this isn't anything new. I think Buttercup's concern stems from the fact that these guys were just recently sent to prison, so it's unlikely they would have turned over a new leaf or anything like that, and Blossom wholeheartedly agrees while Bubbles goes on about how wonderful the wedding cake will be. Because that's our Bubbles. Not believing there's anything evil going on. Nope, she just thinks they're in love. Under most circumstances, a plot like this would usually feature all of the characters being tricked into thinking that the event is genuine, only for the villain to later reveal that it was secretly an evil ploy all along. Hell, just see Super Sweet Six for example. But here, Blossom and Buttercup just jump straight to it, so kudos to them because they have every reason not to fall for this.
Villains can't be in love. They're always evil.
You can't judge a villain by its cover.
Well, I'd say both sides are in the wrong here. I mean, yeah, anyone with feelings can definitely experience love. It's like the universal language that transcends time, or whatever that quote was from Interstellar. But at the same time, if a villain went around robbing stores and blowing up buildings, then hell yeah, I'm gonna judge them. Not to mention this always evil memoir Blossom pulls out, which further cements this point. Mojo shows up, unannounced, and breaks down the Utonium's door while demanding that the professor joins him for his bachelor party, along with Mojo's other closest friends, the mayor, Uber Lobster Monster Mobster, and the zebra guy who was in the audience during Tiara Trouble. Why the fuck do I still remember that?
Woohoo! Bachelor party! Do not lose a mojo!
Believe me, he lost his mojo the very first time he appeared. Well, this pretty much serves to show us that everyone else seems on board with this celebration except for Buttercup and Blossom, which means they think it's up to the two of them to put a stop to this evil plot. But hey, Bianca's come to the Powerpuff Girls for help and asked them to break up Mojo and Barbarus because, quite frankly, she can't stand him. Most of you probably remember the previous episode when our characters were at the Snooty Rose, right? And Mojo and Bianca exchanged some rather tense jabs at each other? Well, that subplot is continuing here.
I know we haven't exactly been friends before.
You tried to destroy us.
You brainwashed me.
Also, I like the little callback they make to Fashion Forward, further cementing that this show does indeed appeal to continuity. Selectively, of course. She ends her conversation by telling them that if they don't break them up, they can kiss Townsville goodbye because the two of them will be unstoppable. I don't know, seemed like they were already unstoppable in the last episode considering Mojo punched Bubbles in the face without even trying. Well, Bianca decides to bid them adieu and the girls go undercover at Barbarus's bachelorette party with totally unrecognizable disguises, such as Buttercup in a giant sun hat and glasses, Blossom in a trench coat, and Bubbles in a hat that says, "Not Bubbles." That's genius. Ah, yes, and of course we get to see Barbie's trio of previously established and totally not thrown in for the sake of filler best friends. Lady who can't maintain a job. See Bubbles of the Opera for that one. Some random background woman, and Zeitgeist? What's she doing here? Then again, maybe they collabed on a fashion line or something. But shouldn't Bubbles be freaking out right now? She loves her work.
As your nondescript gal pal, I feel like I have to tell you that Mojo says your face looks like how your butt smells.
Ha! Get it? Because she's an ape? Well, that backfired on them, so I guess we're headed on over to Mojo's bachelor party next. This time featuring new disguises, including Buttercup's cowboy hat with an arrow through it, Blossom's mustache and a top hat, and Bubbles in a hat that says, "Not Bubbles." That's genius. Also, what's going on with her hat here? And hey Ace, almost forgot you existed in this show. Way to just ditch your entire gang like that, man.
And his monologues would go on and on and on.
Yo, what? Alright, look, I don't want to make any assumptions, but are you really dissing Mojo's old monologuing speech pattern? That ain't cool, that's an essential part of his character, and clearly this reboot's third-person shtick isn't working out nearly as well. Mo-linguish was like, his thing. Oh yeah, and Blossom reads some more insults to him like they did for Barbarus, and he loves it, go figure. Can I just note that the echoing voices thing comes back for this undercover operation bit, and it's seriously annoying.
Undercover operation. Undercover operation. Undercover operation.
Cut back to the girls' room where we recap everything they've tried thus far.
We've tried fabricating lies, photoshopping jealousy, and overall anti-Barbarus campaigns.
Wait, you did? When? I only remember you doing the first part, and when the hell was another lumpkin introduced into this series? Blossom remarks that they're more in love than ever and can't fathom why, while Bubbles goes on and defends them, saying that this is true love. All of a sudden, Bianca comes flying through the window and yells that the evil ape couple is going to go do something evil at the wedding, which just so happens to start in 5 minutes, so why are the girls just standing there? Shouldn't they have been getting ready for it? Oh wait, the invitation never specified a time or place, so of course they wouldn't know where it's happening. Right as she leaves, Bubbles questions if they can trust Bianca or not, but her sisters have already left the building, so it's off to the wedding we go. And that's exactly where we find ourselves next. Here we get to see the professor knows Mojo so well as a friend that he's actually Mojo's best man. Apparently these two have a budding friendship, even though we've only seen the two of them getting along together one other time, and it was in an alternate dimension, so that doesn't even count. It really goes to show how undeveloped these characters are that the professor is just slapped in there because it's all that was available. There was literally nobody else. Blossom and Buttercup show up under the impression that these primates are gonna blow up Townsville and destroy everything they possibly can at the wedding, while Bubbles tries her very best to stop them. Although she ultimately fails and everything gets ruined anyways. Yeah, the two of them are pretty much pieces of shit for doing this. Like, I get that they're put under the impression of thinking that Mojo's evil, but they don't even stop to state their intent or even ask a question. Also, if Mojo's plan really was to blow up Townsville, why would he be having his wedding in the middle of the local park?
Where's the ball? Where'd you hide it?
Yeah, like, under normal circumstances, I'd be, hell yeah, kicking his face. But considering this is a time where it's not earned, it just makes it feel less fulfilling. After the fact, Blossom, of course, explains that Bianca told them to do it, to which she responds,
You weren't supposed to tell!
okay, but like, she never said they couldn't? Did she really not expect the girls to explain who tipped them off? Not once did she mention to keep things a secret when she met with the girls earlier, so like, this is her own fault. But this pisses Barbarus off. Like, holy fuck. Bianca then runs away with Barbarus giving chase, yada yada yada. There's some gags in there too, I guess. Oh, okay, here we go.
Villains aren't guilty every time just because we want them to be.
Buttercup, Bubbles said that, not you.
Huh, really?
Yeah, she was right.
Yeah, Bubbles was right all along. Just wanted to point that out. So remember how I said under normal circumstances this would be a secret evil plot? Well, it turns out it actually wasn't. Oh, and remember how Mojo had that always evil memoir? Turns out he's a liar because he's not always evil during this wedding. Then again, I guess a villain would be a liar, so that does make sense. So the girls are still chasing after Barbarus, chasing after Bianca down the street as Barbarus picks up taco trucks in an attempt to murder her own biological sister. It should be noted that Bianca smashed through glass face first twice at the beginning of this episode, but Bubbles can't shatter it here because she's just that weak. She ultimately gets trapped in a corner and apologizes, so Barbarus stops her rampage and the two make up just like that. Yep, Bianca tells her she doesn't want to be ignored once she's with Mojo because she's afraid of being all alone, and Barbarus understands, so they hug it out. The end. Just like Tooth or Consequences, the problem's solved in one sentence and they all go back to what they were doing. We return to the scene of the wedding, and just as the characters are about to exchange vows, Mojo mentions something about coffee, Barbarus says she prefers tea, and the whole wedding gets called off because the two end the ceremony in an argument about their preferred morning beverage.
I guess this is why you shouldn't get engaged after 2 dates.
No, really? I mean, I guess it's making fun of itself. And wasn't it mentioned that the Snooty Rose was a third date restaurant?
They're terrorizing the Snooty Rose.
Whoa, that's like a third date restaurant.
Yep, the relationship ends just as stupidly as it was formed. Not sure if that was a joke or unintended, but either way it's an unsatisfying ending that could have done something way more interesting, like, oh, I don't know, fighting, blowing up buildings, supervillain stuff. Well, in the end, Mojo gets angry enough that he threatens to blow up Townsville, so the girls beat him up off screen, and that's the end of that. Final thoughts, status quo is God. What a surprise. This is maybe a little bit better than the previous episode. Not a total hit though. It's pretty average all around due to its predictability and lackluster execution. Also, unlike Monkey Love, which had that standout moment with Blossom at the bar, this one didn't really seem to have a bright moment that stuck out from everything else. And I find it weird that despite ruining the entire wedding, Buttercup and Blossom don't get punished at all, even though they deserve it. And nope, they get off scot-free, because if there's one thing this show inconsistently enforces, it's repercussions. So I guess destroying people's property unannounced without legitimate proof or interrogating the situation first is totally okay, and kids are okay to be destroying a relationship just because somebody else doesn't want two people to be together. And this show thinks it teaches good morals. I think what gets me most is just the entire idea for the episode. The Powerpuff Girls go around trying to break up a couple, then destroy a wedding, and help a human and a gorilla with relationship struggles. Wow, what a thrilling and exciting kids cartoon. I'm sure people everywhere, children and adults alike, would be thrilled to watch something like this. You can't win them all, reboot. Although, a lot of the time it doesn't seem like you can win any. Except Home Sweet Homesick and Splitsville. Those were good episodes. Next up, the big one.